Hey there, welcome back to my garden. If you're new here, my name is Lacey and I'm gardening in Western Oregon Zone 8B. And it's been a little while actually since I've actually been out here in my garden. You guys saw a video on Monday, so it looks like I was just out here working, but I filmed that actually about a week and a half ago. And then life just kind of got a little bit complicated. So most of you have probably noticed in the back of our videos, we often have, you'll often see our golden retriever. His name was Charlie. He's a white golden retriever. We've had him for 12 and a half years. He actually just turned 12 in April. And probably noticed that over the last several videos, he was getting a little bit more, a little bit slower and needing a little bit more assistance. Well, about a week ago, he lost the ability to use his back legs. So that sort of started to take over a bit of my attention. Obviously, I was having to help him get up so that he could walk a little bit, to, go to the bathroom and things like that. And then he lost the ability totally to even stand with his back legs. So we had to make the very difficult decision to put him down. And so that has been really consuming for our family for the last several days, dealing with that, kind of coping with that, kind of just, processing that change. And then, just to add insult to injury, we had our transmission go out on our car. My son's vehicle needs some pretty serious work all of a sudden. My third son just got his driver's permit. So that was, occupying time and attention. It was my birthday. So my mom came down for several days. So just the last week and a half have been kind of full of other things besides gardening. And that's okay. That's life. There's other things that are definitely priority over the gardens. But all that to be said, I haven't been out here very much. I have not been filming. I certainly haven't been editing. So I just thought that today, it's relatively calm outside. It's kind of overcast. It's a very peaceful, quiet day outside. I thought it would be a nice time just to walk around the garden. There's a few things that I wanted to share with you, a few things I wanted to show you that are new, that have changed, that I'm looking at, that I'm thinking about. And yeah, so I just thought today would be a good day to do that. So right now we're up in the very front of our garden. We're along our railroad grade. You can see that right here. And this is our lower garden bed behind me. I just wanted to start out here with showing you guys what my husband got for me for my birthday. Okay, you guys all know that I like rocks. I like rocks in my gardens, and this is a very big boulder. I was watching a video recently, I'm sure a channel you all watch pretty often too, and she went boulder shopping, and I was telling my husband, gosh, when you purchase boulders, they're expensive. And I said, here we are, with you with equipment that you can go out and find boulders. And I said, maybe for my birthday, you could go find me a big boulder. And so he did. This thing is huge. It's beautiful, covered in moss. It has cool little crevices on it. You can see right there, little caves underneath. There's even ferns on it. He found this up on the top part of our property, and he said that it was actually one that he used to sit on and just kind of think when he was out in the woods. And I thought that was really, really special that he took the time to use our excavator and go dig it out and bring it back here for me. He weed whacked this whole area down really well. This is just kind of a wild grass that's growing here. It used to be what actually filled up this entire lower garden. It was just this long hay like grass, I guess. So he weed whacked it down, he dug in a little bit. This is actually buried in a little bit, if you can believe that. But it is several thousand pounds. It's well over a ton, I'm sure. It was really hard for him to even to carry it with the excavator, but it's so cool and I love it. I love looking out here and seeing it. It's kind of just, adds interest to this otherwise not too interesting berm. So that was really fun. I was gone when he was doing it, so I got home and he was excited to show me. So that is the first thing that I wanted to show you, but then I wanted to show you that this El Nino Catalpa has come back into bloom for me. I planted this just this year and it didn't do too much when I first planted it. I think it was working on getting established, roots in the ground and all that stuff, which was great. Had a couple buds on it when I first planted it and those bloomed and that was fine, but I just thought, this year it'll be just it getting used to being in the ground. Well, then it started to send out all sorts of new buds. And so here is one cluster of them. Here's some others that are blooming, and then there's several more that have yet to open up. There's quite a few, and I'm just so impressed by this because I don't really expect too much of plants their first year in the ground. I just figure they're gonna just get settled in and, you know, be prepared for the next year. But this one has done so beautifully, and I just was thrilled to see it push out all of these new blooms, and they do smell so good. And I've just really loved this El Nino Catalpa in the garden. And up here in the same bed that the Catalpa is in, I wanted to show you guys this Beyond Pinked Caryopteris. It's starting to bloom. I'm not sure why the pictures show the pink being so vivid. It's really quite muted, almost just a really light pink, but it's starting to bloom, and I think it has just the most interesting bloom habit. As you can see, those little plumes just kind of making their way up the stems. So all three of these, I have one there, here, and then this one here, which is not quite in bloom. These were all planted this year, and I've actually really enjoyed just their habit even before they were blooming. I just thought they were really nice, kind of stately, clean shrubs, you know, in their growing habit. But now that they've started to bloom, it's really fun to see. You can see this one right here obviously has some bee activity on it. They've all just had little pollinators fluttering around them. I'm sure if it was warmer, we would have a lot more on there, but again, just another one that I'm just excited to see do its thing as we're getting into late August and into, you know, into fall, which tends to be when Caryopteris does their thing. So yeah, I was excited that these ones were starting to come into bloom, and I was hoping to be able to show those to you guys. So I'm going to turn around here really quick and show you also this Instant Karma elderberry, which has got to be probably, I don't know, at least 10 feet, maybe 12 feet tall. It's an interesting thing about this, even though we do have elderberries just in the wild here, just growing naturally out in the woods and in the hills and everything, these say that they're only hardy up to zone 7. I'm a zone 8B, and I have this Instant Karma elderberry. I have a dark foliaged one over here, which I don't know why the name is escaping me, but they're both doing really well. And I think because I have a couple different varieties here, you can see that it has the really neat berries on it, which I expect that the birds are going to start. Oh, yeah, they're falling off. I think I could harvest these. I know you can with the native ones or the naturally growing ones. You can harvest them and make syrups and things like that. Sambucus. It's really medicinal. I don't know if I would do that necessarily with these more ornamental varieties, but they still look pretty, and I know that the birds will enjoy them. So it's just to say, you know, don't totally shy away from plants that say that they're not necessarily hardy in your zone, because these ones have done really well for me up here in my zone 8B. All right, so as we come around this side, this is another example of a Caryopteris that's just coming into bloom. You can see it kind of has a little bit of a similar habit with the plumes of the flowers coming up the stalks of the plant, but they're just not quite as distinctively floofy, I guess, I don't know, condensed, I guess, as they come up the stem. But these ones are, I think these are the Proven Winners variety. I'm not remembering exactly what the name is. I'll put it on the screen. But again, as you can see, lots of pollinators on this, and just a beautiful chartreuse color, and the very pretty pale purpley blue color that comes onto these. This is 3 plants, and they are getting quite large in this spot, overtaking a few echinacea under there, but they're such a statement that I don't really mind. I don't really mind them doing so well in this spot. I really enjoy that color, obviously, and then once they start to bloom, super pretty. So just a little scan over here to this side before I go show you some stuff in the backyard. But this garden is doing pretty well too, and really enjoying especially the Apache Rose panicums that you can see. There's one right there in the middle. They're just absolutely gorgeous. The plumes are starting to take on their really kind of pinky hue, which gives them the rose in the name. You can see that. Just so pretty. And I'm really loving especially this color combination here with the pops of white, and then the Concord Barberry, the Apache Rose, and then the Sedum that's right there. And then there's an Agastache behind there also, and the Sunshine Ligustrum that we just planted in. And I guess I should show you too. And of course we have the pink Cashmere Superbena that is still just going crazy here. But my Vitex has started to bloom too. This is the Flipside Vitex. I transplanted it from our front yard early on in the spring because it was just getting way too big for the spot that it was in, and now it's starting to bloom here. And I'm just really enjoying this combination here of the Vitex and then the Joe Pye weed and then the goldenrod that's behind that. Goldenrod's kind of flopping over a little bit, but I just think that those textures and colors are super, super pretty down here in this lower garden. And I'm really happy to show you that the sunshine ligustrum that we replaced another shrub with that I unfortunately wasn't taking well enough care of, it's doing great, as is the little red bud that we planted down here. So those are both doing great, which is amazing because we have just had some really, really warm weather for our area. I think it was, I guess it was on, well, a few days ago, they had record temperatures registered in Portland, which is kind of near us, for August. So that was kind of different. We've been really having a lot of mild temperatures. I've told you guys before that we've kind of been going from it's like a bell-shaped temperature where it's down in the 70s and it kind of creeps up into the 90s. Well, this time it crept up into the upper 90s, about 100, and then just stayed there for several days, and then wasn't getting too much cooler at night. And then now we're kind of on the downswing from that, which is great. So another thing was I wasn't really planning on being here this week. My family was actually supposed to go on a little trip before school starts. We were going to go to Sisters, Oregon, but if maybe you know from the news or whatever, but they do have a wildfire burning down there right now. So the air quality is really terrible, and it's really getting too close to the town. And we definitely did not want to be in the way vacationing when residents were going to be needing to be evacuating possibly. So really sad situation down there in the Sisters area. It's just a wonderful, wonderful little town. We absolutely love it. And so we were supposed to be there this week right now, actually, but instead I am here. So anyway, next thing I wanted to show you guys is why I love to plant sedum in my garden. Okay, so right here are 3 sedum planted kind of close together. This is a variety very similar to Sedum Autumn Joy, which is a really common variety, but this is not it. It blooms a little bit of a different color than Sedum Autumn Joy, and I'll show you that once it actually does start to bloom. But I planted these kind of close together because I wanted it to be almost more like a sedum shrub. I wanted them to fill in this space and really have kind of that high impact because this color this time of the year is so incredibly refreshing to me. Everything else seems to either be taking on a little bit of a brownish orange cast, or it's just a little bit deeper greens, you know, things like that. And this color to me is, like I said, it's just so refreshing. So this is just one stand of sedum that I have. I have them several places throughout the garden, and I'll show those to you as we go past them. But I love the combination of the sedum with this beautiful aster behind it. I don't know the variety of this. This is one that I got from a good friend of mine who also loves to garden. She just called it Michaelmas Daisy, which I think is just kind of a common name for that aster. And right over here is another big, huge stand of it. This was honestly probably one plant when I put it in many, many years ago. I did kind of Chelsea chop this. Just, you know, halfway through the growing season, I cut it back by half, and so that would give it a little bit more of a bushy habit, and I think that worked really well. Otherwise, it tends to get pretty tall and kind of flop over and not as floriferous on the very bottom of the plant. So yeah, this purple is so welcome in my garden, and it has a lot of just these little itty bitty pollinators on it. You can see those guys are just flying all over it, really enjoying it in this late summer months. So just really love that stand. And then you can see over here how eye-catching that sedum is. I also have some other colors of sedum in addition to that, you know, brighter kind of minty green. Here's one that's a dark color, and I love this one. This one gets quite a bit of shade, actually. It's underneath this green Japanese maple here, so it doesn't get a lot of color, but I love the combination of it with, again, the chartreuse of the sunshine ligustrum right there, and then you can see the barberries behind it. I just think that is a really lovely combination, and those just grow so reliably for me here in my garden. So I enjoy plugging those in wherever I can. So on this side over here, we planted these sedum in together last year. And remember, I had been debating on what to put in here, and I thought, you know what, when in doubt, just plant in some sedum. So these are Sedum Autumn Joy. There's 2 plants here, and they just fill in this spot really, really nicely. And while we're here, I'll show you too, the lemon coral sedum that we planted in here together is doing really well. Honestly, keep forgetting it's even here, so it hasn't received but maybe 1 watering or so, and they've done just fine. But anyway, the Sedum Autumn Joy over here is looking beautiful, and it will start blooming very, very soon. I have another little grouping of it just kind of peeking up. Again, with the sunshine ligustrum. I must like this combination. But the sedum next to this fountain grass over here looking super pretty. And then kind of just, you know, to mimic that look there, to tie it together over here on this side of the path is several Sedum Autumn Joys. These ones all were either transplanted here, or I broke off a stem and just tucked it into the ground, and that took root and created quite a good chunk of the sedum right here in this spot. So that's really impactful. Let me show you here as I come down the path. You can see just how nicely those look right there this time of the year. And I just noticed too this morning when I was coming out that this beautiful rose is in bloom again. It's just the softest, daintiest color of pink. Transplanted this here also this year. So I was excited to see it actually performing in its first year in its spot. So also right back here, this is a Rose of Sharon that we planted together, this white pillar. It's been blooming and it has lots of buds on it. Hasn't put on too much upward growth, but that's okay. It just has a lot of buds on it. Looks like it needs a little bit of water right now, but it's doing just what I hoped it would do. It has the white flowers, and eventually it should grow up pretty nice and tall in this spot. So time will tell on that, how that does, but it's doing really well for its first year in the ground right there. Okay, we're gonna come up here, take a little break from the garden. I just wanted to show you guys, I had to get a new hose reel. I absolutely am so thankful for hose reels. I have always really disliked working with hoses. I do a lot of my watering with hoses since we don't have an actual, in-ground irrigation system. We just talked about that in a video a few back of putting in the drip system, that I run the hose directly to the drip system to run it. But I also do hand water a lot with my hoses, as well as take this hose all the way across our driveway to give the goats and chickens water. I pull the hose reel all the way down the driveway. I need a long hose reel in this spot. It's so nice that it just reels itself back up. It's so awesome. Totally has been a game changer. My very first one was a hose link. I have that in the backyard. And then because I needed one that was really long, or I really wanted one that was really long to reach all the way over to our goat pasture, I went with a giraffe hose. I think is what the brand is, Giraffe. And it was 155 feet. So consequently, because it was really long and it was in the same size of a hose reel situation, I think that the hose was a little bit cheap so that it could be a little bit more lightweight. Anyway, I'll show you what ended up happening with it, but I decided to replace it with a Vigo. It was a bit cheaper than the hose reel, but this one is 135 feet. So again, that was my main thing I was looking for, was a very long hose, and this was the longest that I could find. I think that Hose Link maybe has 100 foot, but even this one barely reaches where I need it to go, just because I don't want to be lifting out the water buckets too often, working smarter, not harder, trying to. So I wanted a long hose reel. And plus this one reaches all the way down the driveway to get those beds that I was just showing you with the Catalpa in it. And it just barely gets there. So I need the length. So anyway, got the Vigo and I've been really happy with it. It's definitely, I can tell, a more high quality hose. It reels up really well. It locks in place really well. It came with some really nice, additional pieces. This is the nozzle, I guess, that comes with it. I have one of my quick connects on both sides, obviously, for that. But it did come with some quick connect options, but I just stuck with what I had. So if you need a recommendation for a hose reel, I really do like this one. I do love my Hose Link, but that one is a little bit shorter, so it does have the 5/8 hose. This one is a 1/2 diameter hose, so that might not be ideal if you're needing really, really high pressure, but I don't really have that anyways, so I think this was a really good option. And it's pretty. It's not the faded gray that I had for the giraffe hose, but let me just bring you over here and show you what kind of happened with that. You can see the raised bed over here is looking really pretty. All these plants that we just planted in recently really took and are looking beautiful, really refreshing looking. This bed over here, still looking great, although everything kind of leaning forward a little bit. I'm not really exactly sure why it's doing that, because it gets full sun all day when it's not overcast, but I don't know why. I don't know why the sunflowers are leaning forward. They're kind of laying on top of the salvia that's in there, which is still doing beautifully. This is the unplugged blue. Just love that. And then there's the sparkling amethyst Superbena under there. And this one over here is still doing beautifully too, with plain the blue salvia. Just super pretty. I really see now why people rave about the plain the blue salvia. It has been so beautiful. Let me show you the hose really quick, and then I'll show you another plain the blues. But here's what happened, unfortunately, with this one. It bends right here. And so as I would pull it out, if you can see, I can get it focused. As I would pull it out, it would kink right here and bend. So consequently, this started leaking. See if I can get it to stay focused here. But anyway, yeah, this started leaking right here, and that was, definitely not ideal. And you can't replace just the hose on a hose reel, but you can also see quite faded, not the most attractive, but I did appreciate the length of it, because it would reach all the way over there past my sad car with this sad transmission, all the way over there to be able to water the chickens and the goats. But anyway, while we're over here, let me just show you this plain the blue salvia. It's doing lovely in the ground. Again, hardly getting any water, but still just being loved by the pollinators all season long. It is doing so well, as is the Superbena, or the meteor shower verbena that's back here. These are looking lovely. This Mavis Simpson geranium is still blooming. This garden over here has just really been sweet to look out at. You see this Limelight Standard is doing lovely, the best it's ever done now that it's finally found a spot to be in the garden. I'm so happy with it. You guys know I look at this garden out through my kitchen window, and it just makes me really, really happy to see. So just a pretty space, beautiful maple tree. Autumn Blaze, I think, is what this variety is. It's going to start to turn probably in October. It's one of the latest maple trees to turn its fall color, so that will be something to look forward to. But loving this little bed over here. So we can see over here on this side of the driveway that my window boxes are looking forward to a break. They're looking forward to being swapped out for probably just an abundance of pansies once the weather cools down a little bit. I don't know, just the Smitten Pinks didn't do well at all. They just really, really fizzled out. I'm really glad that I put the Nemesia back in, because those are actually doing pretty well there in the back. But then these are the Pink Lemonade Calibrachoas, or Super Bells, in the front. And those are doing okay, but yeah, their color, I'm not going to complain, but it will be nice for these guys to get a little bit cooler weather, maybe some rain, and then those will be swapped out for some pansies and some pretty fall color coming up here pretty soon. So now we're going to go into the backyard, and I want to show you guys a few things back there. All right, so I wanted to start off right here to show you guys my baskets, or my boxes rather, that have these Franklin's Gem boxwood in the center. So these have Supertunias all around them. There's some Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Vein, which is a new variety for this year, the Supertunia Mini Vista White, and then also some Supertunia Bordeaux, which is kind of hard to tell the difference. The color is very similar, as it's all kind of meshing together in these gardens, little raised bed situations here. But I do think that now would be a good time for me probably to cut these back a little bit, fertilize them, give them a little boost, because as I've told you guys, Super Bells and Supertunias, they do last for us. I don't know, probably late into October when we start to get even into the first frost and stuff. They can last longer than that. So it would be a good idea for me just to shave off. You can see this part right under here. Shave that stuff off. Give them a good fertilizing, which I've only done once this season. So I feel like that's pretty impressive. I have treated them for budworms once, but I think it's pretty impressive. They are still looking really pretty. I'm okay with the fact that they're not spilling out onto the ground because that'd be more maintenance for me. But I think they would respond well to just having a little cutback and then getting some good fertilizer in the soil. So probably be doing that coming up here pretty soon. So another thing that I was doing out here recently, I wasn't filming it necessarily for a video, but it just needed to be done, kind of tedious work, was cutting back my daisies. I have some footage I'll insert here so you can see what I was starting out with, but there was daisies that come all the way down here. You can see into the dry creek bed, and I just cut those all the way back. This variety that is typically here in this garden, I have some more over here that I was working on cutting back. They don't typically have a really good rebloom, I guess. If after I cut them back, you can see there were some that were having that had little buds on them, so I left those down there. But like this one, I don't know if that'll even rebloom because they just don't get a lot of water right now. And I think their first bloom is basically hydrated from spring, and then they bloom beautifully, and then I just prefer to cut them back because the bottoms of them start to look kind of scraggly. So I should come in with some mulch, cover up the little stems on the bottom, but there was a big stand right here, and then down beyond those kind of sad looking sprinter boxwood, there was some more down there. But they were just a big mound of green kind of blocking the things that are behind them, such as this spirea that's coming on with both some new growth and also possibly some of its fall color. I'm not really sure, but it just certainly looks beautiful with these different colors that are coming on, and I wanted to be able to see those a little bit better by cutting back the daisies. So I did that. And I also wanted to show you guys this hydrangea that I have back here. I believe this is a little, actually I can look because it still has a tag on it because it's not even planted. You can see that right there, Firelight Tidbit. Not even planted. Like I said, it's just in a little bucket there, and it's doing beautifully. It is just, I didn't know where I wanted to plant it, so this spot looked like it needed something, and I just left it in the bucket in its nursery can. And I water the bucket and I water the nursery can, so it just kind of sits in like an inch of water, soaks that up over time, and then I water it again, and it just kind of has had that rotation. And you guys know hydrangeas do like a lot of water, even though this is a panicle hydrangea. It still does want quite a bit of water to be able to do its thing. So yeah, that's just been kind of funny to me because it's just been sitting there, not planted, but still looking beautiful in this space. And I don't know if I'll actually plant it there. I was kind of thinking maybe of bringing it down here into this spot, but I don't know. For now, it looks really pretty there, I think. So that is where it will be until I decide where it's gonna stay. So another thing I wanted to show you guys was that my husband and I decided we needed to cut down the madrone that was right here. We call them madrones, some people call them madronas, but there was a madrone here growing. It was actually a seedling. It started itself right here, all on its own, and we thought that was pretty cool because we do have a lot of madrones around, but we don't have any actually like directly here in our yard. We have lots of seedlings and some mature trees up in the woods above us. I'll put in some clips right here of some that we have actually along our driveway, but they tend to be more of an understory tree. They like to have their roots shaded. They typically shade out their own roots, but this one here, I thought, well, if it's going to grow here, I might as well try to prune it nicely so it would look a little bit more ornamental than just kind of a big bush, because that's how they can grow initially. And it might not have liked that. I don't know. The leaves just turned really brown, and that can be okay. It can happen, and it can just show that the tree's a little bit under stress. There was still green in the branches, and so we just kind of went back and forth. Do we take it out? Do we not? And finally, I mean, it even had some buds on it that were looking like they still had some life in them. But I realized that the longer we left it here, even if it did survive this year and it put on new growth, the longer we left it here, the more established it got. If it kept having that problem every summer, I didn't really want to look out my back window because you can see right here, this is our back porch, and we look right out here on where the madrone was. And I thought, I don't really want to look out on a totally brown tree, even if it's alive. I don't want to see brown leaves, and then it would inevitably drop them all and it would be a really big mess to clean up. So it was hard. It's hard to decide to remove a tree, but we felt okay about it. My husband, as I've told you guys before, doesn't love to have trees that block his view of the fir trees beyond our house. If I pan this way, you can see all the fir trees up there. So it wasn't too hard of a decision for him as much as he likes madrones. He was okay taking it out. So yeah, so that was different. And now I have kind of just a quandary of what to do with this spot. As you can see, these plants were underneath, basically underneath the madrone when it was right here. So I don't know that I want to necessarily leave a cluster of pots right here. They kind of look a little perched to me now. I don't know. I would love to have your guys' opinion if you have any thoughts on it. I do have another boxwood, just like this one, that's in the same exact pot over there on my side patio that I was kind of thinking of taking this cluster away, planting those into the garden or moving them around in the garden in different places, and just putting the other boxwood in the same pot on the other side of the pathway. I was also thinking it would be really cool if my husband could build another big arbor right here, similar to what I have on one of the other sides of our house. But that's probably not in the cards right now. But I just kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that look kind of odd to have just that little cluster of pots there? I mean, orange, honestly, I do love terracotta, but orange is kind of my least favorite color in the garden. And so when I look out here at this cluster of pots, all I see really is the orange, since none of them really have the interesting patina on them. So I have a bird's nest spruce here. I have an ornamental grass that, as you can see, once it got out from the shade of the madrone and I wasn't watering it every single day, it kind of browned out a little bit. But then I do have this sedum down here, which like I was showing you up front, is a really dark, beautiful purple foliaged one. So definitely could find a spot for that one in the garden. And this is a little, I think it's the Hamlin, I think is what it's called, grass. You can see though that my dogs think I'm growing it just for them because they bite off the tips of it. And then this is a Golden Duke hemlock. I know it's a hemlock. Golden Duke, I think is what it's called. Anyway, it just stays really nice and little. It's actually doing pretty well considering it's all of a sudden in complete full sun most of the day, but it probably would like to have a little bit more protection. So I should probably find a different spot for that one. But anyway, if you guys have any thoughts on that, I would love to hear it. So over here, this Painted Lady Spirea is looking beautiful. Look at just this interesting color. So cool, so interesting, such an interesting plant. And then this little garden bed right here. Aromance mulberry isn't doing great. I think once the temperatures cool down a little bit more and we start actually to get some rain, I think that they'll pop back and I think that they'll start blooming again. But as of right now, they're not looking awesome. But these are some more of that same hydrangea I just showed you guys. And they're doing really well. They did drop some leaves when I first planted them, but that was fine. I expected that. But the leaves that they've kept haven't scorched too badly. And you can see that they're starting to take on their fall color and looking really sweet next to the Serendipity Allium right next to them. So love the color of that one. And while I'm here, you guys can see the other sedums that I have. Here's a purple one. Here's another sedum Autumn Joy that I plopped in right there. I don't remember the variety of this one. I want to say it's one of the Proven Winners, Coral Jade perhaps, but it's just this sweet little ball. I just think it's so cute. And then up here in this garden, I also have a couple stands of the sedum right here. And then there's some other interesting varieties right here. I won't back up and show you too much of what's going on around these guys because it's kind of sad. But these ones are interesting because they have the purple stems and the more greenish leaves on them. So there's so many different varieties of sedum for really whatever look that you're interested in having. So just one more thing really quick that I wanted to show you. Not the most interesting thing, but here we have this berm on the back part of our yard. You can see right over here, this is kind of where we just were. This berm was pushed here when we built our house, just mounted up in this spot. and it's just been really, really compacted over the years. It's basically just straight clay. And we had some trees being removed by the local, I don't know, tree pruning company, and they had a truck full of bark and tree debris and all that stuff that they had in the back of their truck. And they ended up dropping it right in our driveway. And it wasn't the most convenient spot. They kind of shouldn't have put it there, but we made the most of it. And my husband was able to use the tractor and stuff to bring me a couple loads up here. So I put that on top of this berm, and I'm hoping that it actually will really rejuvenate this soil and possibly make it ideal for planting. So I'm hoping that this fall, once things aren't growing so much in this garden bed right here, my husband and I have been talking about it, that he's going to take out some of these lower limbs, or at least cut them back of this fir tree. You can see how far they're growing out over this direction, which just doesn't leave much rain to get to this garden. It also doesn't leave much sunlight at all. Obviously, it's quite shaded, but I just feel like it's not the best for a garden to have such low limbs over it. I don't know why, but it just, I don't know. I think it'll be great if he just can prune them back. I don't know if he wants to take them necessarily all the way back to the tree or not, but he's going to do that. And then I'm going to see if that will open this space up to be able to be well suited, more well suited to be planted in. I have a couple juniper, just like low spreading junipers in here that are actually doing okay. They're not growing a ton, but they're alive, which is impressive because I don't really water them. So anyway, I may be able to add a few more things just along this side, just to add some interest from, you know, beyond the garden. Nothing to block our view. As I said, my husband's not a fan of that. So just some low growing kind of interesting things along this berm. So this is just to show you I'm doing this, so that in case in the future we do come and plant here, I'm going to tell you this is probably why I was able to actually do that. So let's just scan this way. You guys can kind of see what this back garden is looking like. I feel like this time of the year, this garden is pretty from afar. It's not really one that is beautiful really close up. There's a lot of things that would probably appreciate a lot more water, that are just kind of holding on for dear life. But you know, that's the end of summer for you. So this ornamental plum is looking beautiful. It didn't have any of the leaf issues that it typically has had in the past years, because relatively we have had a really relatively mild summer. So I think that's part of why it's done pretty well. Just coming this way, my little garden shed there is ready for a clean out. I love doing that in the fall, just sprucing it up, cleaning it out a little bit, and getting it kind of ready for the next growing season. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for me for this little garden walk around, kind of life and garden update video. Thank you for hanging out with me while we just took a look at how things are doing in the garden, and a couple little bit notable plants that I wanted to share with you guys, and you know, the removal of things and all of that. So I appreciate you guys being here with me on my channel and watching my videos, and for all the support and encouragement that you give me. I really, really do appreciate it. So hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're enjoying the last bit of your summer. We're gonna be starting school very soon, so I don't know how that'll affect my videos coming out. May slow them down a little bit more, but again, such is life. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.